I'm Mahdi Shaheeb Sher. My website is www.shaheeb.com. I think one of my interests in the world as Mahdi Shaheeb Sher is kind of USA democracy, American democracy, and the democracy we find in the United States of America. I think when it comes to democracy, it is a relatively new concept. I think we've had democracy for maybe 200 to 300 years. If you look at world history and what we find in it and the politics that we see there, we don't see much in terms of democracy. What we see is kind of Plato's republic. That's the kind of republic as a form of government. It's a relatively sufficient and maybe even slightly efficient way of government. It covers most of what is required by government, but at the same time, it is quite dated. It's over 2,000 years old. And I think as a republic, man's highest form of government, and it's probably the most advanced form of government, the republic has its limitations in that it kind of cuts off at a certain point because it's only developed so much in its history with Plato's republic. That's where we get the republic form of government. So I think that that's what we have with kind of government in history. We have kind of the regional variations of government, the national variations of government, and its own kind of temporary circumstantial requirements of government. And of course, that's a very important consideration as well, because I think countries do go through periods where there is maybe a temporary requirement from government, which is more of an emergency. And I think in those situations, you see kind of the psychology of government and what's required from government. And it's kind of tested to extremes in a certain level. But I think that when you look at all of history, what's quite striking is that always the same model of government that we see everywhere from one country to another for thousands and thousands of years. And that's probably at least 2,000 years. I think before the Roman Empire and maybe the Greek civilization and the concept of the Republic by the Greeks, I think we had kind of the Egyptian pharaohs and we kind of had local satraps and maybe Persians, and we have empires that kind of create their own large governments, but they're more despots, kind of like rule by leadership and leaders. So I think that with these types of government, the very basic but maybe perhaps also large governments. So I think that we have for most of our human history had to survive and live, most importantly, live off a daily basis. And that numbers very many days in the thousands and thousands of years of human history. The same streamlined, pretty much same level of a basic government that we have to kind of put up with. And I think that is slightly disconcerting and tragic to have to be limited to the same government. I think that man should have the right to various forms of government with its full variety according to its needs and means, but mainly because of its needs and maybe because of the situation of its requirements. So I think that populations have a right not only to individual freedom, but the mechanisms to exercise those individual freedoms. And I think that's why government is important. And the better it's organized, the more advanced that government is, and the better it can work for the benefit of people. And I think that's what government does. It works for the benefit of people and populations as well. So I think that I do admire government and its exercise and function because no other mechanism or structure in human society, history, or civilization has the same power as a form of government that can distribute all of its resources, labor, wealth, and perhaps preoccupations, ideas, and hopes and desires. So I think government can best be placed to realize the dreams of man, because it's kind of like a literacy in government. And I think when you do have that advanced level of literature and learning and knowledge, understanding, debate, and discussion, then it does rise above the issues of technology, or the benefits of technology. I think with technology, it's kind of like juice and movement, kind of introducing maybe more efficient ways of behavior and action. And I think that's the purpose of technology. But I think ultimately technology doesn't accomplish knowledge or understanding or discussion or human happiness and gratitude with fellow human people. So I think that we do need to focus more on literature rather than science, human endeavor and hope, and desire and dream. So I think one of the things that I like about literature and government and learning and knowledge is the power that government can have with its nations and people, with its actions with other nations and people, with its conduct and behaviors and its principles and ideas and testing times as well. I think when you have these kind of visions and spectacles of people relationships, then I think it does offer some kind of endeavor and encouragement. And I think with these things that we can start to maybe analyze government more, refine them, harness them, enhance them, and advance them. I think with government and in the present form of democracy that we are quite interested in, I think we do have a world that's dominated by America. Um, and that's quite a contentious issue in itself. I think no world has ever been in a situation where it's dominated by a new nation in the world, a nation that perhaps just has a small 500-year history without a 2,000-year civilization or background or character or legacy. So I think when we deal with kind of young America in the world, it is kind of a young world rather than a mature, wise world. And I think that's the kind of government and democracy we see in the world, that it is kind of American driven and it's young and kind of maybe immature, more action featured than it is wise and intelligent. And I think because it's young America with its 500 years of history, we have perhaps a limited kind of way of government that most of the world practices. I think for America to dominate the world with its trade focus, with its kind of consumerism, with its spending culture and consumer spending for national growth and income, for national income and growth. It's kind of a consumer orientated world rather than a productive world. And I think that's kind of the fatality of the world. I think if a world is more consumer focused than productive by nature, then that is going to cause problems in a lot of facets of society and the world. And I think that with this, the world does need to gear itself towards more productive aspects of quality of life and not a simple trend of consumer satisfaction. I think we might kind of enjoy the temporary fascination with consumer goods like aftershave food and drink, maybe leisure goods and the entertainment industry, which encompasses most of national economies. I think that when it comes to a productive world, we do need to have the feelings of individuals in mind, personal interests, desires, dreams, and visions. I think when you look at the passion of man, it kind of runs through the art, poetry, literature, music, and kind of the movement of the world, rather than the sheer appetite or pleasure of it. There's no such thing as pleasure when it comes to passion. I think what we do have is idealism, kind of concoction, feeling, and belief. And I think belief is the right word when it comes to passion. I think that the world is moved by ideas, not through sensations and momentary fleeting pleasures that come and go. I think what allows a man to stand dignified is his principles and his kind of conviction of ideas and beliefs. If you look at what the Quran has done in the world, it's moved not just one civilization, but maybe 10 civilizations at a time. It's moved billions of people every 10 years and every 100 years and every 1,000 years. That's the power and kind of the power of belief and ideas. I think man is best placed in his beliefs rather than his sensations and appetites. I think we do need to dispose of these appetites and these pleasures. And I think we need to think more, understand more, discuss more, and talk more, and maybe smile more with other people and share basic comforts and happiness and features that can provide some dignity with common comfort and normal comfort and simple comfort. I think an art book costs £5, a piece of classical music costs £5, literature, a good literature book costs £5. I think that poetry costs £10. I think sport, movement, and athletics cost £10 with a book. And I think astronauts can encompass the whole space travel with £10 with its images and in books. So I think that we don't need expensive infrastructure. I do believe that democracy is expensive. I think we are living in a world that's governed by expensive democracy. That has to revolve itself around £700 billion worth of expensive infrastructure every year just to prop up a simple principle of elections and public opinion. I think what it comes down to is human endeavour, human fervour, belief, endeavour, and attitude. If a person can be engaged with his visions and principles and his dreams, and he can just focus on it and run right at it, then I think that man can jump quite high with it and maybe fly with it. And I think when you do space travel with some of the visions of the most primitive of man, basic primate man, then we do see space travel as maybe one of the dreams of man. And I think all of this comes from maybe the poetry of man. And I think that's what human endeavour is. So I think we do need to move away from the carnal instincts of pleasure, appetite, feeding and sensation and pleasure. I think we need to say no thank you to America. And I think we need to say hello to the world. And I think we need to be dignified as people with the poetry of Asia, Africa, maybe South America, Australia, and maybe Europe and Russia as well. And I think with these passions, we can move the world. I think with that, we can have advanced governments that listen to the instincts of people rather than just their public opinion. And I think that's what government should be in the world. It should be about advanced government that rides off of the philosophical thinking of great thinkers other than just the ones we take for granted. And I think if we can pioneer those concepts advance those concepts of the thousands of thinkers that we have, then perhaps that we can make more progress than just the democracy we take for granted with America as a country. I think America is very limited by nature. It's a juvenile in the world. And I think that there are more wise, intelligent, and proactive people who can engage with the human endeavour of the world. And I think that's what the world could benefit from, some kind of a human passion and human endeavour. Thank you very much. Thank you.